Today, we're not just practicing listening, we're diving into a story that will significantly expand your word bank and boost your confidence in using English. This is a Level 3 Intermediate Fluency Builder. Get ready for sophisticated vocabulary, rich narrative structure, and real-life lessons on innovation and resilience. Before the world was filled with instant messages, live calls, and constant notifications, it was a quieter, yet lonelier place. People moved through their days separated by distance, waiting for letters that took weeks to arrive. Ideas traveled slowly. Emotions traveled even slower. And in that older world, one powerful truth remained hidden. Connection was the rarest currency of all. As you step into this story, pause for a moment. Take a breath. Ask yourself quietly, am I communicating my true potential, or am I letting it fade into silence? Because this story, although set in another century, is really about you, your voice, your confidence, your growth. It is a story about seeing something invisible and daring to believe in it. And at the center of this story stands a woman named Elara Vance, whose vision and persistence reshaped human connection forever. In the middle of the 19th century, communication was a battle against distance. Messages traveled through telegraph machines, short, clipped bursts of dots and dashes. They delivered information, yes, but they stripped away nuance and emotion. A message could reach you, but the person behind the message could not. Elara lived in this world of mechanical language, but she saw beyond it. She believed communication should feel alive. She was a music teacher with an astute understanding of sound waves, harmonics, and resonance. While others heard noise, she heard patterns. While others saw limitations, she saw potential. Her conviction was simple yet extraordinary. The human voice, with all its subtlety, could travel across a wire. Most people dismissed the idea immediately. When she presented her early theories to the scientific community, she was met with derision and cold smiles. "The human voice is too delicate," they said. "You're chasing the impossible. Stick to music, Miss Vance." Their words stung more deeply than she expected. She felt not only misunderstood, but also pushed into silence. She was not just fighting physics, she was fighting the status quo, the comfortable belief that things should stay the way they were. But Elara's mind refused to be quiet. That night, in her tiny attic room, she felt the weight of every doubt that had been thrown at her. Rain tapped against the window like a relentless reminder of the obstacles she faced. The attic was cold, but her thoughts were burning. She realized she was one decision away from a different life. She could return to her safe, predictable routine as a teacher, or she could walk toward the terrifying, exhilarating unknown. She whispered to herself, "I will not let the world's limitations become mine." The next morning, she made a decision that broke her heart and freed her future. She sold her beloved grand piano, her most precious possession. The piano had been her voice for years, yet she sacrificed it so she could build something that would become a voice for the world. To Elara, this was more than an experiment, it was a promise that one day a son would hear his mother say, "I love you," not read it on a telegram. A promise that distance would no longer erase emotion. A promise that connection would no longer be silent. Transformation rarely announces itself. Most of the time, it grows quietly in the dark, unseen by anyone. Elara's journey was no different. Her progress was slow, almost invisible. She worked before dawn, practicing small habits, 5 minutes of sketching prototypes, a careful adjustment to a wire, one focused weld each day. She started small because she understood that mastery begins with movement, even imperfect movement. Her early devices were clumsy, coils tangled like untrained vines, membranes that snapped under pressure, mouthpieces that barely vibrated. But each failure was data. Each mistake was a silent teacher. She didn't seek applause. She sought one thing: a faint electrical current that would prove her theory possible. Fear followed her everywhere, whispering that she had made a mistake, that she was wasting her savings, that she should return to the comfortable life she once knew. But Elara repeated a truth she clung to like a lifeline. Fear is not a stop sign. Fear is a companion. She didn't fight fear. She carried it and moved anyway. On the hardest days, when her hands ached and her ideas felt worthless, she reminded herself, "I made a promise." That promise became her superpower. It kept her moving when everything else told her to stop. Months slipped into years. The world changed around her, yet her dream remained constant. She woke early, studied late, and refused to quit. Finally, on a rainy afternoon, much like the night she once broke down, Elara stood on one side of a long copper wire. Her assistant, Mr. Davies, waited on the other end, tired but hopeful. She held the smooth wooden mouthpiece in her trembling hands. Her heart pounded like a drum, echoing in a cavern. She remembered the piano she sold, the scientists who laughed, the lonely attic, the promise whispered at 3 a.m. Then, with slow, steady breath, she spoke. "Mr. Davies, are you there? I need you." The room filled with static. For a moment, she feared the worst. Then, faint, buzzing, almost shy, came a reply. "I am here, Elara. I hear you." Was the sound perfect? No. Did the signal waver? Yes. But the human voice, a living, emotional, unmistakable voice, had crossed the distance. In that single moment, the world shifted. Not because the invention was complete, but because the impossible had become possible. When you change your energy, your life begins to move. After that first trembling success, Elara felt a new confidence growing inside her. Her voice, once hesitant, grew clearer. Her steps grew firmer. Her dream, once a whisper, grew into a roar. Suddenly, people noticed. The teacher they once ignored had become the woman everyone wanted to understand. She was no longer invisible. She was no longer the one who should stay quiet. She had become a pioneer, the person who broke the great barrier of distance. People respect you when you respect yourself first. Elara's self-respect was built not on praise, but on discipline, quiet dedication, and unwavering belief.
Success brought attention, but it also brought noise. Competitors emerged, trying to copy her design. Former critics transformed into sudden admirers, pretending they had supported her all along. Elara learned one of the most important truths of success. Not everyone will clap for you, and that's okay. Clapping doesn't build your future. Action does. Patents do. Courage does. So she focused on protecting her invention and refining the technology. She examined every vibration, every coil, every membrane. Brick by brick, she built a legacy powered by willpower and purpose. Every time she felt tired, she remembered why she started. Connection. Years later, Elara returned to the same university hall where she had once stood trembling before skeptical scientists. The room looked smaller now, less intimidating, almost familiar. She walked to the front of the hall and simply stood there, silent. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in deep, quiet gratitude. This, she thought, was the place that tried to limit me. And this is also the place that shaped me." She whispered, "Thank you, but I'm not that person anymore." Then she turned and walked away, not from the building, but from the shadow of her former self. Elara became unrecognizable even to herself. She was no longer the insecure teacher or the dismissed theorist. She had become the architect of modern connection, a visionary whose ideas would echo through generations. When people asked her, "How did you change the world?" she smiled and answered, "I stopped accepting silence and I started speaking." Her voice built bridges between continents. Her courage built pathways for communication. Her persistence built a new era of human connection. Elara's story is not just about innovation, it's about you. Right now, you face your own obstacle, English. Maybe people laughed at your accent. Maybe your sentences feel clumsy. Maybe you feel invisible in conversations. But listen carefully. You are one decision away from fluency. Not tomorrow, not one day. Now, right now. Just like Elara, you must decide to speak anyway, even when it feels imperfect, even when it feels scary. So, here is the question you must answer. Are you living your English life, or are you running from it? Are you expanding your word bank, or are you watching others gain fluency while you wait? You have two choices. Remain where you are, using only simple language, or become the fluent speaker you are meant to be. The world is waiting for your voice, but you must choose to step forward. Stand up, take a deep breath, look in the mirror, whisper these words in English. I'm ready to speak forward. I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to live in English. Your fluency journey starts here. Your confidence starts here. And all you need is one decision. Walk away from the fear. Walk toward the world waiting to hear your voice. Just as Elara once did, you can build a connection, one that begins with your courage, your voice, your next step. This is not the end. This is your beginning.